The Mortal Kombat movie is actually something that's been in development for a pretty freaking long time. Ever since around the early 2000s, there was an idea floating around for a third Mortal Kombat film. The original movie was supposed to be a trilogy. The original Mortal Kombat film is widely beloved by a lot of people for some reason. I don't really understand why. It does not hold up very well. But that's besides the point, because it was a pretty big financial success. So they made a sequel that wasn't as successful, so they canned everything. And ever since then, people have been a little iffy about making another one. So we were finally able to get a third film, which was just Mortal Kombat, which is supposed to signify a start to a new kind of universe or series of films. So it's all dependent on this one. And after all this time of waiting, I can say that it's not very good. I'm going to start off with what I liked. I really enjoy that the movie has this really brutal violence to it. The blood splatter effect is really funny and over the top and cheesy looking. There's a lot of really corny one-liners, and it's pretty clear that this movie isn't taking itself super seriously. I expected brutal fight scenes with lots of blood and lots of gore, and I kind of got that. I really dug that there was an attention to detail paid with how the characters fight and move. Like, each character kind of has their own unique fighting style, and it's pretty game accurate, I gotta say. You know, characters like Liu Kang, Scorpion, Subzero, Kung Lao, and Cabal all really have unique fighting styles that are really accurate to the game, which I really appreciated. The two best characters in the whole movie are Scorpion and Sub-Zero. They steal the show. The costumes are really good looking. I really enjoyed the more muted blue for Sub-Zero. I thought it really fit with the film's universe, and I really just wish the movie was about them, honestly. Kung Lao was pretty cool. I liked him a lot. Normally, he's kind of a bland character for me in the video games, but I feel like they did a good job with him here, and he has by far the best kill in the whole movie. And I really like this Jack scene for some reason.
Yeah, these motherfuckers work.
And that's about all I liked about this movie. The biggest thing that I disliked about this film was Cole as a main character, and I feel like everyone is talking about this. But I just have to say that it has nothing to do with the actor. I just feel like it's the character that's extremely out of place and really generic. He is useless as a main character and could have easily just been replaced by Johnny Cage. Because Johnny Cage is already the player insert. He's the stranger into this really supernatural world, and he doesn't know what the hell is going on. So he's already a character that you can just exposition dump everything onto because he is a fish out of water. And I feel like Johnny Cage has a lot more of an interesting storyline because he has extremely selfish reasons for wanting to save Earthrealm. You know, he's just a guy that wants to better his Hollywood career. And then you could have an arc where he learns to take the Mortal Kombat more seriously, and then we get a satisfying resolution at the end. Cole just has a generic, hey, I have a family, I love them, for people in the audience to go, I have a family too, and I love them. It just felt so generic and cookie cutter that like a producer watching this movie was like, hey, you know what? We need a character that people can relate to. And it just really didn't fit. It stuck out like a sore thumb in this world. And he's also incredibly useless. Like, he can't do anything in this movie, and none of his victories feel earned. I also feel like the movie does a terrible job of explaining the Mortal Kombat universe. As much as I hate those exposition dump type scenes, I feel like this film desperately needed a better one. There is a scene where they kind of explain what's going on, but it's not very well done because the lore and world of Mortal Kombat is actually pretty complicated and complex for a fighting game. And I also never felt the stakes. Like, the Mortal Kombat is supposed to be this tournament that decides the fate of your world. And there's a lot of stakes and tension that you should feel in this situation, especially for our main characters. But I never really felt that. I never really felt like there was a real sense of danger or stakes, or that the Earth actually rested on their hands. Because the movie is telling this grand storyline of, like, we need to worry about this event coming up, but it does it in such a small way, probably due to a lack of budget. I thought the acting from literally everybody except for maybe Scorpion and Sub-Zero was terrible. They all had no emotions, and characters like Liu Kang had really inconsistent accents. Kano was good for the most part, and I felt like he was probably the best interpretation from game to screen. But I really got annoyed by his constant quipping. I felt like they were just going over the top with it a little too much, and if they had reeled it in a little, it would have worked better. Because at the end, I felt like I was watching a Joss Whedon movie, and that's not a good thing. The fight scenes were fun for the most part. I enjoyed most of them, like I said. There was a fair bit of violence and blood and gore, and the one-liners that they throw in between each other was okay, I guess. It was comically cheesy, and I never really expected them to take it that seriously. But I was a little disappointed in how often they were resorting to cutting, though. It made the fight scenes really disorienting to me when there's a punch being thrown and there's like 7 cuts to accompany it. I just really don't understand why they feel they need to do this. I'm a really big fan of the fight in the film Wheels on Meals, in which Jackie Chan fights Benny the Jet Urquidez. There's not a whole lot of cutting. Most of the fight is in a wide view so that we can see everything that's going on. The hits look powerful, and the lack of music in the beginning is just meh. Contrasted, I feel like the beginning fight between Scorpion and Subzero was the exact opposite of everything that I like in a fight scene. The hits don't really feel that hard because there's not a satisfying sound to accompany it. It's just kind of a generic punch sound. The music is very cheesy and generic as well. And there's a ton of cutting for no reason, and it makes it so disorienting to me. Obviously, I don't expect everybody to have this crazy perfectionist vision with their craft like Jackie Chan does, because it already inflates Mortal Kombat's already limited budget. But I thought the fight scenes were fun, but sloppy, like much of the editing in this movie. I felt like most of this movie was just kind of sequel baiting or universe baiting, I guess. They kept talking about how this Mortal Kombat thing was going to happen and that's coming and we have to prepare for it. And I hate when movies do this because they're trying to follow the MCU format of things, and what ultimately happens is you get a movie that's not very fulfilling or satisfying because it's too busy setting up other movies. So you're like, well, what's Mortal Kombat? What is that? Oh, don't worry about it. We'll answer it in the next movie. For now, we just gotta train for Mortal Kombat. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. And it's like so entirely unnecessary because I felt like this movie was just like doing homework for future movies to come. Overall, I feel like the Mortal Kombat movie was fun in some parts, but kind of frustrating and undercooked in a lot of areas. And I mostly felt like this movie was just trying to set up future sequels. And depending on the success of this movie, I think it's already a pretty big success for the studio. I think there are going to be more of them coming. And at the end of the day, I was just kind of left with the question of, well, why did I need to watch this? I could have just waited for the next ones to get the Mortal Kombat tournament that I wanted. But look, overall, this movie was okay, I guess. Like, I wouldn't watch it again. The fight scenes I enjoyed watching. This is more of like a YouTube highlights movie kind of deal for me. Like Scorpion vs. Sub-Zero Part 1 on YouTube is mostly what I would search up. I wouldn't watch this movie again, and I wouldn't say that I'm particularly really excited for a Mortal Kombat extended universe after watching this one, because I felt like it was extremely sloppy and undercooked, that it had some fun, and it had some fun moments in it, but overall I would call this movie a disappointment. I mean, it's certainly better than the original two, but that's not saying much. That's like saying this is the best video game movie ever made. That's not saying anything because all of these video game movies are fucking terrible. But I wouldn't call this movie terrible. So there's that. If I were to assign a number to this movie, it would probably be like a 4 or a 5 out of 10. And that's like, it's basically that it's worth a watch, sure, but there's not much substance to it. You're not going to get anything out of it. It's an extremely sloppy experience, and it probably won't want to watch it again. But it has some fun moments, and the Sub-Zero and Scorpion scenes are really cool, so if you just want to see that, then knock yourself out. But the main character and the entire story around it is really bad and really sloppy, and made a short movie feel much longer than it was.